not minding our previous stupidity when it comes to the issue of Biafra. I'm also a United Delta. Government said it here, Tompolo. A brother and a friend that I like very much is here. Because during the Avengers time, this Tompolo, I'm reading his words today, went to a meeting and gave them the order that the release of Nnamdi Kanu from detention is the #1 demand of Niger Delta Avengers. #1. How can I forget them? That is why I fight for all of us to be free. I fight and I struggle. Anytime I remember what Niger Delta Avengers did, what our brothers did on the high seas, for me, I say we must go. Let us get Biafra first, then everybody can go their way if you want. I'm telling you the truth. But we must all be free. The #1 demand of Niger Delta Avengers, when a ship was hijacked, everything that they were doing was the release of Nnamdi Kanu. I will never forget. Sometimes I speak in a manner that most of them may misunderstand, but in my heart, every blessed day, I pray for our people from the southern part of Biafra. Let me tell you remind you once again about it. If you are from these states, you are a Niger Delta. Abia, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, Imo, Ondo, and Rivers, including those in Auchi.
Our people are lame. They are weak. I am struggling to count how many men there are in Biafra land. There are no more men left. Weak, docile, and imbecilic. Weak. I don't know how we can take such people to war. I don't know how we can take men who are not men into battle and win. I am ashamed. Very, very ashamed. Nonetheless, we must preach this very gospel because man did not ask us to come. Chukwa Biama in heaven mandated that we should come. If not, that I was called to do this very work, I will not speak to any of you anymore. But Chukwa Biama said this very gospel must be preached, and we must preach it. I have prayed since yesterday up until now. My request is very simple. The same prayer I made in secret, I will make out here in the open. Chukwa Biama Biko. Since it is your intention that your kingdom will be restored upon this very earth, I need men. I need men. I did not say boys. I said I need men. Those of them that you created to restore your kingdom, they should come forward now, not tomorrow, not next year. Chukwa Biama. You must bring them now. I did not say tomorrow. Because the insult is too much. It is beyond what any human being can endure. We want to go and get Biafra, or we die in the process, because we are better off dead than witness some of this nonsense going on. The level of insult is beyond what any decent human being can tolerate. I was an Nama. They bring their cattle into our land.
All right.
They desecrate our land. They kill us in the presence of our families, and nobody does anything about it. And when the police attend, the police sit idly by
on this
as
very
people
day,
are being killed
Biafran and the
by
Ambazonian
not
nations, here represented by the Prime Minister and the President of the Ambazonian Council. And we will start with the national anthem of the two nations, and thereafter, Dr. Joy Irobi, the Biafra Ambazonia Alliance representative, will give a brief welcome and introduction before we start this very briefing. I remain the Information, Media, and Communications Minister of the Biafran Republic Government in Exile, Aniebit Ason Sunday Achibong, aka Akbarawa Soni. And here we go. Welcome you all to this historic day. Ndewo Mochineke.
Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Amazonia and Biafra, the national anthem of Amazonia. Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Biafra and Amazonia, the national anthem of the indigenous people of Biafra. will count our privilege. The word of which emboldens the free shall always be of blood of
Thank you, the Biafran people. Thank you, the Ambazonians. And thank you, lovers of freedom and the press that are here gathered today to listen to the two representatives and the eyes of the two emerging nations who shares one thing in common: freedom and the liberation of their people from the hegemonic tendencies of the Britain, and fighting one common cause, which is to liberate their people from the Islamic jihadist terrorists, aided by all political criminals all over the world. I look forward to see Dr. Joy Irobi here, the communication person of the Ambazonia and the Biafra Council. And I can't find her on the speaker's request session. So at this very point, I will hand over the mic to the two speakers representing the two nations. I will introduce the Prime Minister of the Indigenous People of Biafra, Mazi Simon Ekpa Njoku, the Ikwoki of our time, the Obatobie, the Agone Chamber 1 of our time, the Ekperimaristic Ekperima that has Ekperimarized every Morons in one Nigeria, the Itiat Ekondo, as we call him in the Efik and the Ibibio nations of Biafra. I salute you, the Prime Minister of the Indigenous People of Biafra. Welcome to this very day. And to Dr. Cho Ayoba, I salute you as well. Welcome to this very day. I leave the mic to the two speakers of the nations of Biafra and Ambazonia at this very point. Thank you so much. Prime Minister, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think Joy Irobi is here, the Biafra Ambazonia Alliance representative. So Joy can go ahead, except she's having a problem because I can see she's on and off. So
Yeah,
Joy,
I'm giving her mic now.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm giving you the mic now.
I have a little bit of technical issues, but good evening, Biafrans. Good evening, both great leaders. I would like to welcome both of you today to this great event. So without taking so much time, I would like to immediately hand over. So maybe later on, when there will be a little bit more time, then I can talk a little bit about what we have done so far between the alliance between Ambazonia and Biafra. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, over to you. Dr. Joy Irobi, thank you for that very swift. I salute you. Prime Minister, over to you, please.
Good evening, fellow Biafrans. Good evening, Ambazonians. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press, those who are seated in your different locations this evening to listen to these two great people. Myself, the Prime Minister of Biafra Republic Government in Exile, and Dr. Cho on this space as we respond to the ICG latest report. Also, as the Biafra Ambazonia Alliance is now on international spotlight. It's very important that our people know why the alliance of Amazonia and Biafra is what is needed at this critical time. So I welcome you, Dr. Cho Ayoba, or you can go ahead and welcome our viewers. Thank you. Dr. Cho?
I think Dr. Cho is having issues with the network. Maybe you bring him down and bring him up again. Prime Minister, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Dr. Cho, bring him down and bring him up again. He's having issues with the network.
All right, let me do that immediately. Yes, I think he's good to go. Dr. Cho, are you there?
No. That is network issue. Bring him down and bring him up again.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
All
Very
right.
well. Very well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you, advisors to the Prime Minister of the government in exile, and thanks also to my advisors, people of my communications department, and others who are here, fellow Amazonians, fellow Biafrans, and members.
We've lost him again. Dr. Cho, you have issues with your connection, please.
Do you hear me?
See if you can fix it. Thank you.
I can still hear him. Prime Minister, if you cannot hear him, I think bring him down, bring him up again. Because I can hear him from here. Dr. Cho, I can hear you, but I guess Prime Minister cannot hear you.
Yes, I can hear him.
Yeah, Prime Minister, can you hear Dr. Cho?
Yeah, I can hear him now. Yes, I can hear him now.
All right. All right.
Right on, please.
All right. Thanks a lot. Today, when we set our side on establishing an alliance with the Biafran people, it was based on some very tangible observations, historical realities, which I explained when the Prime Minister and myself were out. That for so long, the Biafran people have been demonized within what you describe as the Islamic State of Nigeria. You were perceived, and you are continuously being perceived as a nuisance, but a necessary nuisance which they can keep for the state of extortion and exploitation. Ambazonia, within the context of Cameroon, has been treated like an outcast. We were described as Biafrans, not in the semantic term of being Biafrans, but in reflection of the fact that we needed to be exterminated in the same way that genocide was visited on the Biafrans. We were called enemies in the house. They created a phobia in Ambazonia about Biafra. Biafra to Ambazonians at the beginning was like a no-go zone. Don't touch them because they are described in such a humiliating manner. So when I looked at the geopolitical reality in Cameroon, people in the east of Cameroon had relationships with Central African Republic. People in the north had relationships with the northern part of Nigeria. Ambazonia either had a relationship with the Atlantic Ocean or it must develop one with the people with whom we were somehow governed along our pathway to self-determination as a common people. In the Eastern House of Enugu, when we analyze the context in Nigeria, the Yorubas are highly connected to the people in Benin Republic. In the north, to Niger, the Biafrans were left with only Ambazonia. Yet, despite the massive trade between Biafra and Ambazonia, we were told by the two enemies to undermine each other, to fear each other, not because Biafra has ever invaded Ambazonia, not because Ambazonia has ever committed genocide on Biafra, not because we have ever done anything to each other that should merit that fear. And if history is anywhere to go to, when we walk out of the Eastern House of Assembly, Biafra never burnt 2,000 of our villages, kidnapped thousands of our people and locked them in perpetuity without proper trial. Biafra never burned down children. Nothing happened. But an attempt to even ask Cameroon to reform our educational system is met with excessive force. And so within the context of these analyses, we came to the realization, and I'm glad the Prime Minister and Nnamdi Kanu before came to the same conclusion, that our relationship shall never be determined by neither Abuja nor Yaoundé. Our relationship shall be determined by the interests of both nations. And against all odds, even from internal opposition from certain Ambazonians, but I can say with a great welcome from the majority, we establish an alliance that at the beginning was attacked and now has become an international subject of the analysis of a reputable think tank based in Brussels. So we are here today to remind all of us that we didn't start this journey a couple of years back. We started this journey a long time ago. Now, the ICJ is, as I have just said, a reputable think tank. It's a non-governmental organization that is involved in research, policy analysis, and the prevention of conflict and conflict resolution. It helps highlight cases of conflict, pin them on the agendas of international institutions, nations, and other relevant stakeholders that can be involved in transforming the conflict, in resolving it, or accommodating its effect. Let me highlight a couple of issues that are relevant in that report before I hand over to the Prime Minister. The first is the way the ICJ captured the alliance. It captured it from the perspective of security for Ambazonia and security for Biafra. That this alliance provides the possibility for both people to use each other's territory for purposes of refuge and for purposes of support. And this is exactly how the Prime Minister, before him, Nnamdi Kanu, and myself have explained the importance of this alliance. Though the ICJ did not broaden it in the way I have explained on the relevance of the survival of Biafra, and to see that you cannot be within the context of a particular country that is allowed to build alliances beyond its own borders for its own geopolitical, economic, and strategic interest, why Biafra is not allowed to do the same. Why the Ambazonian Biafra alliance is treated almost like a pariah or as a threat to Abuja or Yaoundé. This alliance is not a threat to anybody. it is for the survival of Ambazonia and for the survival of Biafra. Another issue within the context of the Ambazonian the Cameroon war is something which is relevant for Biafra to also know, for all of you Biafrans to know. I haven't brought this to the attention of the Prime Minister through our own representatives, but this will be an opportunity before I will ask my representatives to submit a brief to Dr. Joy for the attention of the Prime Minister. As we speak, and it's highlighted in the report of the ICJ, Cameroon has created its own militias within Ambazonia. It is using those militias as agents provocateurs to commit crimes, to create situations that will be blamed on Amazonia. And Biafra must take note of this. As you push the enemy to the wall, the enemy will use your own. They will use the enablers, they will use the spoilers to be able to undermine both Biafran cohesion and both the legality and the legitimacy of the Biafran struggle. That is exactly what Cameroon has done in Ambazonia. It has recruited thousands and thousands of Ambazonians and fronted them as the face of their opposition to our right to self-preservation and survival. It has now created militias, as highlighted in the report, to use the militias as all other militias have been used, like it was used in East Timor, to create chaos, panic, and lay the foundation for the commission of the crime of genocide. Finally, every birth begins with screams that we hardly understand. The journey from the mother's womb through the birth canal is a very difficult journey. Once the baby comes out, it immerses itself in an environment which is estranged from where it had sought refuge for 9 months. It is faced with all the plagues, the diseases, the hostilities created by man and by nature. That baby is nurtured and helped to understand their environment, their culture, to crawl, to stumble while trying to walk, and one day suddenly becomes a sprinter. That is the journey we have imagined for both Biafra and Ambazonia. This alliance will not succeed without the support of both the Biafran people and the Ambazonian people. We must believe in ourselves that an 80 million person economy can lift an 80 million economy can lift the people of Biafra and Ambazonia. We do not, based on our ingenuity, our creativity, our pain, and that pain has given us the ability to survive difficult situations. And that today, if this report has been able to capture this alliance, it is not going to make it work. It is in our hands to make it work. It is our fight. It is our future. And what we cannot allow to continue, fellow Biafrans and Ambazonians, is to allow a few misguided individuals who oversee our nations for the interest of foreign dominions to use perpetual violence and intoxication, not only to frighten the rightful owners of the land, but to transform those lands into a graveyard for the next 100 years. And as I said to our people, you must lay claim to it, have a stake in it. Because on the day you take your last breath, you should be able to say to yourself that what you are transferring to the next generation of Biafrans and Ambazonians was more important than what you ever inherited. Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho, for that apt submission from your end. You've actually touched everything concerning the importance of this alliance of Biafra and Amazonia. Well, my fellow Biafrans all over the world listening, those journalists who may be seated here today listening, I want to remind our people the blockade of Biafra. The blockade of Biafra, just like Dr. Cho has submitted the borders of Biafra is between in the coastal part of Biafra. The blockade of Biafra, Cameroon and Nigeria used the Ambazonia border. And so our people must understand that having studied the mistake of the Biafran people in the past, having studied how Nigeria were able, with their counterpart, the Britain, were able to starve our people to death, especially our children, during the genocidal war, it is of utmost importance that Biafra of today block every loopholes. What we see as the mistake of our past heroes shall and can never ever repeat itself again. And I will assure Biafra people today, Alliance of the Biafra Ambazonia has addressed the issue of blockade. It can never ever happen again. That is number one. Number two, looking at, I will not go into addressing what Cho have said because he has actually virtually touched the main issues on that report. But what the Biafran people and Amazonia must understand as well is that the war against Biafra is Nigeria, and the war against Amazonian people must be fought.
Okay, there is a break in transmission. Wait for the Prime Minister to return, please. We are here gathered with the Prime Minister of the Indigenous People of Biafra and the President of the Ambazonia Council. The two nations are here to deliberate on issues bordering the interests of the Ambazonian people. Stay tuned as the Prime Minister returns to the microphone. We understand that the connection may be kind of hectic. A lot of people are trying to hook up, so there might be some discrepancies coming in from the connecting angle. Do bear with us as we keep the space on in return of the Prime Minister.
this. Sorry for that.
Prime Minister,
So,
welcome
as I
back.
was saying,
Welcome back.
thank you very much.
You were muted. In case you
Thank
have said something that we didn't get to, you may rephrase from where you stopped, please.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, the war that Nigeria Islamic State and that of Cameroon has brought on both nations is not a war that should be ignored. It is a war that must be fought with this alliance. And like they actually captured in the report, and in quote, both nations looking for a safe haven. But where they got it wrong was that this safe haven is capable of destabilizing the region. That is a very wrong narrative from the ICG. They should have ought to know who is destabilizing this region. Is it the Biafra government? Is it the Ambazonia governing council? The answer is no. Our alliances will rather safeguard our people, give us the leverage to use both territory for the best interest of our people and our nation. And at the same time, to defend our women and our children, sharing intelligence, including on security. And that is actually what could bring a solution to already destabilized region. The region is already destabilized. And as a result of the destabilization of this region, that gave birth to the agitation for independence of Ambazonia. The same destabilization, killings, genocide led to the agitation for the independent state of Biafra. So how could it be that those fighting for survival, fighting for self-preservation, will become those that will destabilize the region? That is a narrative that must be corrected. At the same time, I am not actually bothered by what anybody interests, they're always right to protect, no matter how neutral they claim to be. In a country where the military, who ought to be protecting the territorial integrity of such country if it actually exists, are the one killing children, killing women, just what Hamas did to Israel. And somebody will wake up, pick up a pen, do a research, and his or her finding is that the alliances will further destabilize the region. And so I will use this opportunity to address the fact that the Biafra alliance will not and will never destabilize the region. Rather, the alliance of Biafra and Ambazonia will only be the solution for the already destabilized region, which is being funded by the Islamic State. And we have been able to find the solution to the problem. And we are applying it. The policies and the measures we are taking today has proven that indeed the hope of the millions of the Amazonians and millions of Biafrans lies on our boat government. And there is something I would like to tell to Biafran people today, and those who care to know. for those asking us to take a model from other freedom fighters, or for those who have succeeded in the past. I have this to tell them today. I may not have said this anywhere. We are not taking any model from anybody. We are not taking any model from Mandela. We are not taking any model from Gandhi. We are not taking any model from Martin Luther King Jr. We are not taking any model from anybody. The reason being that we will solve our own problem in our own way. Gandhi solved the Indian problem in Indian way. Mandela solved the South African problem, apartheid problem, in their own way. Martin Luther in America also followed what he believed would work for them in America. That does not mean it is going to work for Ambazonia. That does not mean it is going to work for Biafra. And you do not expect me to go on hunger strike like Gandhi did in order to register my grievances and disapproval of the killings by the Nigerian state. Nigeria will be happy that I'm on hunger strike. They think that they may even pray that the hunger will kill me so that they will be able to overrun our people. Is that the kind of Gandhi? Is that the kind of a system somebody would like me to take, to go on hunger strike? Nigeria will be celebrating. We are designing and following our own history, the history that we believe that we are creating for the freedom of our people. What is going to work for us, not those that other people have used and they work for them. Nigeria is a complex entity, a complex Islamic state that needed a complex solution. And that's why most of the actions we are taking today, a lot of people can never understand it. But the result is what is speaking for itself. The report from the ICG, as we commend them for bringing the alliance of Biafra and Ambazonia to the international level, we also will not be so cheap to accept everything that was written there. And I am even surprised that this particular statement is coming from them so fast, so quick, because we've not even implemented the Biafra Ambazonia alliances policies to the fullest. Because by the time that implementation starts coming in, believe me, Cameroon will understand that this is not business as usual. Nigeria will also understand that this is not 1967 and 1970. The Ambazonia and Biafra alliance has come to stay for only one thing and nothing else: the interest, best interest of both nations, for the survival of the Ambazonia people, for the survival of the Biafra people. We have been able to seal the borders to make sure that anytime Cameroon comes to kill, they will be eliminated. Anytime Nigeria comes to kill, they will also be decimated. That is what all this alliance is all about. Making sure our women and children are not getting killed like chicken in the past, like they killed them in the past. And nobody talks. Making sure that we create the enabling environment to have supplies of arms, sharing of intelligence, making sure that we provide the necessary environment for the armies that are fighting the enemy of our people. So my fellow Biafran Ambazonian, you must understand that this is the beginning of a history. It may sound like a joke to many, but believe me, the history is what we have to create by ourselves. It is what we create that the people will talk about. It is how we create our own history, our own freedom is the way the world will see us. We will not allow anybody to write our history, write what we intend, our intention of becoming alliance nation, recognizing each other, what the intention is and what the intention will be. We have to dictate how the enemies will talk about us, not them writing our history and our story. So as I am applauding the ICG for recognizing the fact that Ambazonia Biafra Alliance is not to be taken as a joke, at the same time, I am faulting them for misrepresenting the intention of the alliance. The intention of the alliance is to safeguard both territory, to make sure that our women and children are safe and are not living in IDP camps as being orchestrated by both terrorist countries. And that particular reason and agenda leading to this alliance has been achieved to a certain degree. Like I have said in the past, and I have mentioned here today, we have devised a means to fight the both nations independent in our own way. That is very, very peculiar. That can never be the same with what any other nation have done. They will write our own history, what we asked them and what we did, not what other people did. Nigeria as an Islamic state has committed crimes against humanity in Biafra land, and nobody has condemned them. The same thing is happening in Ambazonia. Nobody has condemned them. In the first place, the ICG should have focused on calling on the AU to call Yaoundé to order and Abuja to order to stop killing Biafrans and Yaoundé to stop killing Amazonians. That should have been more understandable if the ICG focused this particular analysis from this contest. We are the victims and we remain the victim. The ICG should have called on African Union to call Cameroon to order. The ICG should have called Nigeria, Islamic State of Nigeria, to call the AU, to call the Islamic State of Nigeria to order. Not to discuss about the Biafra and Ambazonia alliance. And let me tell you, they will fail. Because where they think that we are stopping is when we are starting. This alliance will make sure that we ruthlessly protect our land, protect our women and our children and our properties. And anybody who crosses our land will die. enough is enough. I don't know if Dr. Cho is back, but remember that the Biafra next convention is coming up this year, and Amazonia and Biafra will again shock the world on our next phase in Finland. Dr. Cho, I cannot see you again. I think network is really disturbing this space. You can see a lot of people are going out.
The network
coming
is
back
terrible.
At the same
The
time.
network is terrible.
Yeah, I don't know whether it is on purpose. We have over almost 2,000
Yes,
people here, and you know, they are kicking them and bringing them back. I've lost Dr. Cho, and so I think we wait for him to come back. If he does, please, can you bring him if he's back?
I'm looking for him, sir. I'm looking for him, and I'm waiting for him.
Today, we have seen that the leader of Hamas is in Nigeria. It is not a rocket science. I have said it severally that Nigeria will be the biggest threat to the West. Nigeria will be the biggest threat to America. And like we have said in the past, what these terrorists are looking for is a safe haven in Nigeria where they will use our natural resources to start attacking the West. This should be the issue that should bother everybody. How to stop Nigeria becoming a threat in the next 5 years. It is only Biafra that will make it possible. It is only Amazonia that will make it possible. These two nations will emerge in West Africa to put a stop to the upsurge of terrorists. As Africa stands today, especially in the West Africa, it is only Amazonia and Biafra that will be able to checkmate this upsurge of terrorist activities within the Sahel region. So the world needs Amazonia and Biafra like never before, like no other nation. And Dr. Cho have just informed me that he is having problem signing into the space, and that is very strange. He has just informed me that the page is telling him that the page cannot be found. That is very, very strange. I will have to send the link again to him to see if he's going to come back. And as we wait for Dr. Cho, I will have the opportunity, and some of you will be privileged to ask a few questions before I leave.
Okay. PM, do you mean we should get people in to ask questions, sir?
So maybe
I will just
maybe I can say something now, since we are waiting for. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Biafrans. Thank you, PM, for this great history that is being made, and I hope Dr. Cho will come back. I just want to take these few minutes just to tell our people that we are making progress. And I want to say that since the last Amazonia Biafra Alliance press briefing that was on 19th of December, basically, we are setting up a lot of stuff. So, for instance, we are setting up the Council of International Affairs and Economic Council team. Now, what is the goal? The goal is to protect our people and also to achieve our liberation. So this team is currently being set up. And I want to also mention that this council, so the Council of the International Affairs and Economic Council.
I cannot hear Dr. Robi. Is she there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Dr. Robi, but even on my dashboard is telling me that she's requesting to come in, but I'm listening to her. I wonder how that is happening.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Robi.
Okay. So I'm just trying to tell a little bit of the activities that the Biafran and Ambazonia Alliance team are currently planning. So the council, of course, will be in charge with working to make both nations, so Biafra and Ambazonia, to be part of a structured international discussion. So also this council will be lobbying against businesses that undermine the sovereignty of Biafra and Ambazonia, and also the ownership of our resources. Now, the council will work.
I cannot hear Dr. Robbie. Raphael,
She's still talking, sir.
Prime Minister,
Yes?
can you hear me? Prime Minister, can you hear me?
Something is back in.
Can you
Prime
hear
Minister, can you hear
Raphael,
me?
I cannot also hear you. Is this like
Something-
attack or
Prime
something?
Minister, I could not even come in with my account again. So that is why I had to use the official.
Raphael,
I
are you
can
there?
hear
Can
you,
you hear me?
PM.
Yeah, I can hear you. I
I
can hear you, PM.
Bam, if you can hear Prime Minister, please tell him we need to restart the space in order to be able to relieve the attack, because there's so much
Can you hear
attack.
me?
PM cannot hear anybody anymore. PM cannot hear anybody. Even myself, he cannot hear.
But we can hear him.
Yeah, but he cannot hear anybody.
Okay, let me message him. Let me message him so he can restart the space. Bring this one down and start again.
Yeah,
because there is so much attack on this
please
space.
message him so he will restart. Please, everybody listening now, we want to message him.
I think I can hear you now.
Okay, PM, can you hear me? Sonny, PM can hear me now.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me also?
Is that Sonia Korawa?
Yeah, Sonny Korawa is back.
PM, can you hear me? Can you hear me, PM? He cannot hear me.
PM, if you can hear me, Sonny was suggesting that we bring down this place and restart another one because this one has been under attack.
Raphael, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Obi, I can hear you very clearly.
Oh, what is going on? This is...
Bam, please. Say something to PM. Tell him I have messaged him. He should check his message on Twitter.
PM, if you can hear me, there's a message from the Information Minister to you. Please, if you could just check it, please.
I could not come back in with my own account, so I had to now come in with the official department account because the attack is
Raphael,
so...
can you hear me?
Yes, PM, I can hear you. PM, if you can hear me, there's a request to bring this down and start a fresh one because of the attack. The Minister of Information is suggesting that, sir. Hello, PM, can you hear me, sir?
All right, people. The space is having a lot of woto, so no, just a shake. All right, people. The space is having a lot of woto. Let's see if they are back with another new space. But right about now, the space is having woto. Space is having woto space. The space is having woto. Just few minutes. Let me just try and reconnect. Good day from here. Greetings, Stella. I see all of you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we'll be right back. Let's see.